Database dump is basically like a human dump. I'm not kidding. Dump is what we take and it represents what we eat, right? The dump we take in the toilet essentially is a reflection of what we ate. Similarly, database dump is the reflection of what is inside in a database. It's essentially a file, and the file contains SQL commands, mostly create and insert, and as I said, it reflects the state of the database. Now, how do I create a dump? For Mac or Linux people, you use this command. I'm going to type it in my terminal. MySQL dump -u hyf user -p for password. Then I will give the name of the database, company, and then I will give the name of the path where I want to store it. Now this path must be somewhere you have access as the user of that computer. If you give a path where all the installations are somewhere in the C colon on Windows, then it will not work. It must be a path where you have permissions to write the file or permissions to create a file. So I'm going to create a file on my desktop and say test.sql or yeah, test.sql. It is greater than sign, which means it will redirect the output of the dump command in that file. It asks me password for the hyf user. It will be hyf password. The password is no error, so this file actually exists now. I'm going to open that file, go to my desktop and test.sql. This is how the file looks like. MySQL dump, some version, host is localhost, which is where the server is, database is company. Now this create table will look different than the create table that we write because it uses tons of more options. But essentially it will create the table that we have created. Create table default, not null, create table departments, create table employees, and so on. Of course, there are more commands in this, like drop table if it does not exist, and then recreate it. Lock table, and then unlock table. Every time you create a table, it is activity that you should acquire a lock for. You will learn more about it in the transactions of database. For Windows, go to this particular link and see how you add mysql dump.exe in your path environment variable, because you cannot use mysql dump as it is. You have to use mysql dump.exe, which is the tool inside the bin directory of your MySQL installation. The rest remains the same. Now to apply the dump, there are two ways. Apply the dump means if I delete the database by accident, this dump file will work as the backup. So because I have test.sql on my desktop, I can regenerate the database that I have. So if I delete the database for some reason, I can recreate the database with all the tables and all the values using this command from the MySQL prompt. If I'm not on the MySQL prompt, then I use this command. Now let's first delete the database so that I will convince you that the database can be recreated if I use the command that I mentioned here. So let me go to the database. I will check which database I have. Select database. I have company database. If I do show tables, these are the tables. I will switch the database to user DB, and then I'm going to drop database company. Database is gone. If I do show databases, I don't see company database anywhere. If I try to switch to that database, I don't see that either. So it's gone. Now what I can do is create database company, then use database company, and then instead of creating tables with create table, I can just use source command like over here and then give path to the dump file. Dump file is on my desktop, and this tilde means the home directory. So it's in my home directory there is a desktop, and in the desktop there is test.sql. See, it created many queries, and all these queries are basically create table and insert values. Now if I show tables in this, I get all my tables back along with all the values. So this database dump is preserving all the information that is there. So desktop test.sql, there you go. It has insert values also for all the tables. You can literally recreate entire database. Now this exercise is something that I already showed you. Take the dump of company database and use the dump file to recreate the database. You can redo it, what I just did, on your Windows machine or your Linux or Mac machines. Again, essentially dump files work as a snapshot of the database, which allows going back to the previous state of the database.